Hey everyone, welcome to the Truth Only Show here on KCAA, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM. We are back this week to give you a new show, and we'd like to invite you to go to trutholnyshow.com. On trutholnyshow.com, you can find all of our previous episodes. They're all available to listen to right in the website, or you can download them and send somebody to the website. That's probably the best thing you could do for us if you want to help us out, or just help out one of your friends. Send them to trutholnyshow.com. But now here's the host of the show, David Rodriguez.
Good morning, everyone. Great to have you here with us today on another episode of our show, the Truth Only Show, where you hear nothing but the truth. I want to welcome all of you and give many special thanks to all of you, especially all you new listeners out there. I know there is something that will benefit you here today on our show. But before we get started, I want to give some thanks to those that make this show possible. Of course, you listeners. Without you, we would have nothing whatsoever. But I want to give thanks to our engineer, Mr. Joe Pagano. Thank you, Joe. Our webmaster, Mr. Joel Strouser, and co-host and producer that you just heard was Michael. Just want to give you a little idea of what we talk about here on our show. Especially for you new listeners, we talk about human nature. You know, human nature, think about that. What is your true nature? How are you made? What is your makeup, your true makeup? We're not talking about the physical body now. We're talking about your mental makeup. How does your mind work? How does life respond to the way you think? What type of life are you experiencing? Are you experiencing the life that you want to experience, or are you just letting life kind of control you, life push you around? Well, that's what the show is about, learning how to take control of everything in your life, and that is by understanding your own true nature. In other words, know thyself. Understand that. When you understand who you truly are, you'll be amazed at what you will find out about yourself, and when you do find out what makes you tick, what makes your mind, what makes life respond to your mind, to your thinking. It's basically what we're going to talk about, and our topic today is old thought and new thought. Okay, old thought, new thought. Something that maybe you've never really thought about it in this sense, but we're going to talk about first your old thought. In other words, the old way of thinking. In the old way of thinking, it did serve many things in your life, the old way of thinking, but it's better to understand what is a new thought. In other words, what is a new way to think, a new way to see my life, a new way to understand my life, totally different from the past. So now, one of the most important things about our old thought is that with our old thought, we thought the body was life. What I mean by that is, in our old way of thinking, we thought the body was life. You know, our body's moving, it's working. But I'm not only referring to the physical body, I'm referring to the physical world. That we tended to think that was life. In other words, your body is alive, so that's life, which is true to a certain extent. It's really true. But when you begin to realize the new thought, the new way of thinking, you realize that your thought world is really life. And the reason for that is because your thought world is what creates your life. It's what creates all your life experiences. That's very important. To try to get away from the physical body. In other words, it controls your life. The physical world controlling your life. Your finances, physical things that do control your life, control your thinking. Remember that. That's what we're talking about. The physical world controls your thinking and makes you believe who you are and what you are. Based on what? The amount of money you have, the money that you don't have, and many other physical things going on in your life kind of take control of the way you think and what you believe about yourself. That is the old way of thinking. Now, the new way of thinking, you realize that it's what you've been thinking about that has been creating your experiences. So the new way of looking at life is what life is. It's really your thought world. That is the creator of your life. You know, you can try doing this. Just take a look back at your life. Take a look back into your past. And then think about all the things. Had you done things, thought things differently, your life would be different right now. Things would be different. In other words, your life would be different. And based on what? Based on your thinking. That's what we're talking about here. New thought. You know, you've probably heard that term new thought, and you've probably applied it to some kind of a group, organizations that refer to themselves as a new thought movement. Well, you know, there are those organizations. They do exist. But it's so much more important to understand what we're really talking about here. We're talking about forming a new way of looking at life, a new way of thinking, and experiencing new things, greater things. Now, in many cases with our old thought, we've allowed others to do our thinking for us. What I mean by that is, if you think about your own life, you may belong to certain organizations, all right? You belong to a certain organization, but have you ever questioned why? How did you all of a sudden get into this organization that you belong to? Why? Have you been just following the same thinking that has gone on in your life through generations and generations of people? Your parents, your grandparents belong to certain organizations. Now you do too, and maybe you've never questioned it. You never wondered, why do you belong to that organization? Why have you picked up basically the same beliefs as the people that have come before you? The same basic ideas, the same basic concepts? Have you ever really questioned where you got them from? That's the old way of thinking. What we must do is learn to think it all for ourselves. We need to think about it for ourselves. Now, I want to go into an area in our lives that is something that is very important. The intellect. I want you to understand the intellect is very important, okay? The intellect serves a very important purpose in our lives. There's no doubt about it, okay? For analyzing and discovering, it's great. It's great. We need to analyze. I mean, for construction, for building something, for making something new, our intellect is so important and so vital, okay? To come up with a new idea, a new concept, analyze. But there is a problem also using our intellect and living your life based on your intellect. What you're doing in reality is you're comparing the negative and the positive. And what happens a lot of times in life, We see the bad going on in our lives. Some refer to it as evil. I don't really like to use that word. Just the bad, the negative things going on in our lives. And we've had the belief, many of us had the belief, that we have to beat that negative back, beat the bad things. We got to beat them back. We got to figure out a way to beat them back. And so what happens in reality is that we're thinking that we have to beat the bad back, the negative back, in order to experience the good. Get rid of the bad so we can experience the good. That's where I'm saying where we use our intellect, trying to figure it out, trying to understand it. And I can tell you right now that it is a losing battle. It is a battle that will go on and on and on in your life. Because the intellect is not the originator of things. The intellect analyzes and dissects, but it is not the originator of things. There is a creative process that does exist within you. The human mind is creative, but can you see the problem? When you spend your life analyzing the negative and trying to beat it back so you can experience the good, if the mind is creative, what you are doing is creating both the negative and the positive. So going back to what I said, think about your past. If you go back and think about your past, and you can see for yourself what I'm talking about. You can see the negative things that have gone on in your life. And you can see that they have come on. You have also experienced many good things. But the negative is something that you have never been able to conquer, never been able to get over. So the same kind of thinking, using the intellect, comparing the negative and the positive, you are going to continue to get the same types of results. And I think you've heard before, the definition of insanity, what it is doing the same thing and expecting to get a different result. Doing the same thing and expecting to get a different result. So if you've looked back at your life and seen all the mistakes and all the problems and all the negative things you experienced, if you continue to use the same type of thinking using the intellect, you will continue in the same direction. Nothing will change. The only thing will change are the types of experiences. But they will continue to be the negative and the positive. The negative and the positive. Now, I'm not trying to say that you can completely wipe out all the negative, because we're all going to experience it. But what I'm talking about here is learning to experience much, much more of the good in life, of all the things that are possible for you to experience, and bringing the negative down to actually making it almost non-existent in your life. How does that sound? What we're talking about here is new thought, a new way of thinking. I'll tell you the rule. The rule is there is a law of mind. There is a law of mind in action. Now, a very simple law. The human mind is creative. The human mind creates whatever it dwells on. It is that simple. So going back to what I was saying before, when you're analyzing the negative, the bad, and trying to beat it back, trying to get rid of the negative so you can experience the good, you can understand maybe now what I'm saying is the human mind is creative and it creates whatever it focuses on. So if you're spending a lot of time thinking about the negative to try to create the good, you're going to continue to experience both. Because as I said earlier, the intellect is not really the originator. It is not the originator of things. Okay. Good thoughts. Peace, thoughts of peace, thoughts of joy, thoughts of beautiful experiences, thoughts of love, thoughts of the new. What can I experience the new? How do I experience the new? How do I experience more abundance, more good, more beautiful relationships? Not trying to beat any of those things back, not looking at the negative side of any of that, just looking at the good. Trying to see it. Try to visualize it. Try to feel as if you already have all those things that you desire. Make the good your intention. What is good? I'm sure that you can think of many good things that you would love to experience. Think on those things. Focus your attention on those things. What is the greatest life that you would love to experience? Think on those things. How much joy would you love to experience? How much happiness would you love to have? Think on those things. Now what you are doing now is you're focusing on the good. So going back again, the human mind is creative. It creates whatever you are focused on. In the old way of thinking, comparing the negative and the positive, the mind creates both. Now, when you're focused on the good, what you're doing in reality, you're opening up to brand new ideas, brand new concepts. You just open up your access to a new power you didn't even realize that you had. A new power that you have within you. You will begin to see things that you had never seen before. You will begin to see opportunities that you couldn't see before because you were dwelling too much on the negative and thinking that the body is life. The body is not in reality life. Your thought world is life because your thought world is what will create your life. And it's been creating your life. When somebody asks you, what has your life been like, the majority of you are going to go back and tell people your life experiences. That is your life. Your life experiences. And your life experience have been created by your thoughts. I think you understand that now. I think you can see it. I believe you can see it. Just know the truth about yourself. That is the truth. Your mind is creative and it creates what it focuses on. Know the truth and the truth shall make you free. Don't go away. We're going to take a short break, and I just want to remind you that you're listening to KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, or 106.5 FM on the Truth Only Show. You can find us at truthonlyshow.com and check out all of our episodes. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived. I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. Pardon the way that I stand. There's nothing else to compare. The sight of you leaves me weak. There are no words left to speak. But if you feel like I feel, please let me know that it's real. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. I love you, baby, and it's quite alright. I need you, baby, to warm a lonely night. I love you, baby. Trust in me when I say, oh, pretty baby, don't bring me down. I pray, oh, pretty baby, now that I find you stay, I let me love you, baby, let me love you. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived. I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. I love you, baby, and it's quite alright. I need you, baby, to warm a lonely night. I love you, baby. Trust in me when I say, oh, pretty baby, don't bring me down. I pray, oh, pretty baby, now that I found you, stay, oh, pretty baby. Trust in me when I say, I need you, baby. When will you come my way, oh, pretty baby? Now that I found you, stay, and let me love you, baby. Let me love you.
All right, welcome back. That song is called Can't Take My Eyes Off of You by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, I believe. Or is it just the Four Seasons? I'm not sure.
Frank Valley and the Four Seasons.
All right, we'll go with that.
But that was a different version. Who was that?
No, that was him.
That was him?
That was it, yeah.
Oh, it sounded a little different to me. I have maybe.
I think
'cause
that was it, right, Joe? Yeah, that was it.
Okay, well, my mistake. I thought it was sounded a little different, the voice. Okay.
Okay, so you're talking about old thought and new thought.
Right.
And one thing that you talked about right at the end, I think, well, we'll get into old thought and new thought, but you said that you got to get away from thinking the body is life.
Right.
And I would like you to explain that more because I wrote that down because I was wondering, what do you mean when do people think that? Do you feel like most people think that their body represents their life, or what did you mean by that? Or what do you think most people think the body is life?
Okay.
Or why'd you say that?
Okay, well, I think of it, many people are not conscious of this, what we're talking about here, that they think the body is life. And what I mean by that is I'm not only referring to the physical body, I'm referring to the whole physical world, period. Because in the old way of thinking, the physical world controls the way people think and believe about themselves. For example, I think I gave that example. If you're limited resources, financially limited, people take on the belief about themselves. In other words, being a limited person. They believe that about themselves. And many people believe they've been that way their entire life. So it's been controlling the way they think all their lives. And other people, the physical body, in many, many ways, I'll just mention a few. The physical body controls the way people think. I mean, there's people that are way overweight, for example.
Yeah.
It's obvious that the physical body is controlling the way they think. And, if somebody has a problem, addiction with drugs or alcohol or whatever, their physical body is controlling their mind. That's what's going on. That is the old way of thinking that the body or the physical controls your thinking and allowing it to control your thinking. That's what I mean. That's the old way. The new way, the new thought now, when you begin to understand, is that your thoughts control your life. Your thoughts have complete control of your life, not the physical body. Okay? Your thoughts can control everything. Everything. And I gave the example of whatever age you are now, somebody asks you, oh, what's your life like? What is your life like? Or what has it been? You go back and tell people what you've experienced in your life, what kind of career you had, what kind of things that you experienced when you were young and all that.
Yeah. Well, what else is there to say?
What my point is, your thoughts created your experiences back there. Okay? It wasn't your body. It was your thought world that created your experiences that you've lived up to this point. It was your thought world. So the point is that thought is life. Thought is what gives life to your life, not the physical body. That's the old way of thinking.
So you're saying, instead of going back and saying, oh, this happened to me, and then this happened to me, this happened to me, you should say, I was thinking about this at that time, and I was thinking about that at this time.
My thinking was messed up. I think a lot of us can go back and look at our lives and say, my thinking was messed up because I messed up some big time.
Or they were saying, oh, I was so focused then, and that's how I got that good job. I was so focused back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, right. But it was still goes back. It was your thinking that was doing it. It was your thought world that was doing it.
I think a lot of people can think about that. There's probably a lot of times where they can think back and say, man, I was really focused back then. I was really optimistic, or I was really in the zone.
Right.
Where did I lose that?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's getting away from the body controlling. That's the old way. And going back to the new thought. Going back to what created all the great things in your life. What was it? That's what we're talking about now from this point on. That's why I said continuing to do the same thing is the definition of insanity. If you experience a lot of negative and you go back and you have a lot of regrets with your life, if you continue doing the same thing with the old type of thinking, you are going to continue on your future the same way. You're going to look back 20 years from now and say, wow, I continue to do the same thing. So you have to change it to the new thought.
I think that's true too, because even some people that like when they look back and they say, "Man, I was so focused back then, and I really was trying to get that job, and then I got it." And then I think that's what you're talking about is not moving on to the next thing. They're like, "Well, I've been working so long for years trying to get this job, and I finally got it," and then they kind of just are content with it for a while, and then they realize that contentment turns into just like, what am I doing here?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's something you've talked about, where you say when you get to that goal, you got to make it bigger.
Make it bigger. Whatever goal, whatever dream you have, whatever vision you had, there's no such thing as making it. You never make it. You just keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. That's the only way that you can really enjoy life, is by having a bigger goal, a greater goal. That's the only way that human beings can really be happy.
If they're going after
If
something?
they're going after, if you're moving forward. Right. You cannot be happy just sitting still, because you're going in backwards is what you're doing. You're becoming stagnant. That's what you're really doing.
So that's what can happen when you reach even one of your big goals in life. You
Right.
can become stagnant after that.
Right.
Well, because you said that too. Is like you gotta, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward.
Right. There's no such thing as sitting still.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't sit still. You're either moving forward or you're going backwards. That's all there is to it. There's nothing in between.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I think the hard part is I think you've noticed in your life too, is like the periods in between little successful moments, right? Because those are the moments, that's when you have to really stay focused, is when you feel like, oh, nothing's happening.
Right.
Nothing's happening. Well, that's the most challenging part. How do you get through that challenge of nothing happening?
Well, you
Even if you are thinking right.
you know what? Even as long as you have a bigger dream, a bigger vision, as long as that your bigger dream, you have a bigger vision, that's what can keep you going, because you see your vision is much greater than the little things that happen to you.
Yeah.
It always remains bigger than the little things that are going on in your life. So if you have just a little tiny vision, a little bit goal, which is okay when you're starting out. It's all right when you're starting out.
Mm-hmm.
But when you just have a little vision, a little goal, little things can happen to you and kind of knock you off course. But when you can open up your mind to greater things, and when your mind is open greater, the little things don't seem to be they don't seem to slow you down very much. The little things are going to happen to you constantly. They'll always be happening to you. But you just go right around them. Mm-hmm. You just keep going right around them, because eventually you know that you are going to reach something much greater than what you are experiencing now. You know that. You know that. That's all it is. Once you know it, there's no stopping you anymore.
So you have to know it.
Yeah, you got to know it. You got to get yourself to know it where you can see it. And you will see it. You will see it clearly one day. Mm-hmm. You will, without a doubt, because nothing will be hidden from you. You will eventually, when you work on a goal, a purpose, a vision, when you work on it, you will eventually see it. You will see that it is possible. Mm-hmm. Now, there is nothing that will stop you anymore.
But what about, now this is the other thing, like we've talked about that before, where you're playing music or something and you feel like, man, I'm not getting any better. I'm just playing and playing and playing, not getting any better. And then all of a sudden you make that jump. But I think that period of time where you feel like nothing's happening, because it's not even necessarily anything bad's happening, or you're not going backwards, but you're just like, you're not seeing any progress.
Right.
And I mean, that's a big part of a lot of things, is the part where you don't see any progress, because that could last a long time.
Yeah, and you know that when you learn to think about that in the right way, you should know that you're going to make a big jump. You should know that. You should already know the laws, the rules, the way things happen. That will happen to everybody.
Is that what happens?
That's a law. It's like a law of life. It has to happen.
What?
That you're going to go through a hard time
no progress.
of feeling like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
That's when you know the truth. The truth is that you're at a how do they say, a crossroads? You're at a crossroads, and you're going to go to a better place. You're going to make a great jump because of that, because you are going through that. So just keep going. That's it. Just keep going, because something better is coming. Something greater is coming. Your mind is about ready to open up.
So you feel like when you feel like there's nothing going on, that's when there's about to be a jump.
That's where you
And
should know that
some sort of progression.
something is great is happening.
Some success is going to come.
It's coming. It's coming. That's what you should know, that it's coming. And it will. There's no doubt about it. It's 100% true, because every single person that has ever accomplished anything great in life, all of them can go back and tell you they've been through that.
Yeah.
But yet they moved on. It's kind of like, I really don't like to use this analogy, but it's kind of like what you've heard, the survival of the fittest, right? Survival of the fittest. In other words,
Who's strong enough not to give up?
the strongest are going to move forward.
Yeah.
It's like if life is separating the strong from the weak, and it's better for the species, really. It's better for the species to get stronger and stronger. And I'm not meaning that the people that give up and quit, there's something bad for them. No, I don't mean that, and I don't mean that life is going to kick them around or do anything bad to them. No, I believe in the end, life is going to be good for all of us.
That's
everybody.
That might not be what they're
It's
going
not,
to do.
It might not be their time,
or what they want to do.
right? It might not be their time. That's all.
Yeah.
But life is going to treat everyone the same. Everybody is going to have an opportunity, whether it's now or whether it's later on. I don't know. I can't tell you what's in another life or whatever. If there is another life, I can't say. I don't even go there. What for? I'm too busy living this one.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go there. When we know more about it, we can talk about it. I don't, so I'm not going to talk about what's in the future. Is there another life? I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
Too busy experiencing great things in this life, and there's much more to experience.
I just heard an interview with a writer for TV. His name's Dan Harmon,
Yeah.
and he created that show, Rick and Morty. It's a very popular show.
What is it?
Rick and Morty. It's
Oh,
a cartoon, but
okay.
it's very popular. And he spent years. I mean, he didn't really get success until maybe went into his 30s. And he just talked about that period in his 20s where he just felt like he was just so angry and so like, man, I'm not doing anything. I've never done anything in my life. He said at 26 he was in his car punching the airbag. He cracked his dashboard because he punched it so hard because he was angry that he's never done anything. And he was only 26, but but they kept on doing it, and he kept on learning more. And like he was from like Milwaukee or something. So when he came here, it was a whole learning experience. He didn't know, like in the industry, there's a thing called a log line, which is like a really short description of your show. And he didn't know if it was called a log line or a long line. So he would always say, "Oh yeah." So what exactly is a long line? Because he would try to jumble the end of it so people wouldn't know that he didn't know anything. But that's the kind of things he had to learn, and then he just kept on moving on. He learned that. He learned how to write scripts eventually, and he kept on doing it. He wrote that, and he got a couple movies ideas written. Then he got a couple shows. He got that show Community, and then after that, he finally got to Rick and Morty, which made him pretty very successful and pretty proven.
Yeah.
And that's that journey that you were talking about.
And there are many people that have experienced very similar things. I mean,
and he says it's totally it seems random how he gets to each thing, because the way he started out, he was writing a comic book with his friend.
Yeah.
And it just happened one day. A well-known writer said, "If you let me write one of your comic books, I will give you one of your scripts to somebody important." And they, and that just came randomly because he thought like, well, I don't know how I'm gonna get anywhere, but that opportunity just came out of nowhere.
Right. You know, you just said something very important. You don't need to know exactly how everything's going to happen. That's going back to what I was talking about, comparing the negative and the positive using your intellect. You don't need to know exactly how everything's happening because you can't know. You can't. There is no human that can predict the future. Nobody can. We can't predict the future, so you don't know exactly how it's going to happen. When you're moving forward, life will just draw the people that you need to accomplish what you're working on. Life will bring them in front of you. Life will bring them to you, bring the opportunities to you, as long as you're moving forward. So it's a big waste of time trying to detail every little thing, because you might miss out on the greater opportunities because you're focused in the wrong
that's not my
thing.
That's not the plan.
Right.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about people doing nothing and then all of a sudden being tired of doing nothing. Tony Robbins, for example, he's a great motivational speaker, one of the big ones in our country. He talks about himself that he was living in a small one-bedroom apartment, and he said he's a pretty big guy.
So he was broke, fat,
250, 60 pounds or something, and he was broke. He could barely pay his rent and all, depressed and all that, and all of a sudden he just got an idea, started reading. He started reading every book that he could think of from motivational speakers, and there he is today. And that's, what did he do? He changed the old thought, the old way of thinking, and he took on the new way of thinking. That's it. Take on the new thought, new way of thinking. That's what'll do it for you.
We'll continue this talk after we take a break. You're listening to The Truth Only Show here on KCAA. We'll be right back. All right. That song's called Working My Way Back to You, by the Four Seasons. So we were talking about that
Well,
journey, and that you know you don't know where it's gonna happen. You don't even worry about where it's gonna happen as long as you believe it's going to happen, right?
as long as you see it, if you can see yourself there already,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep doing the work in that direction,
Mm-hmm.
and don't waste. It's a waste of time trying to analyze every little detail. Doesn't work. So just move forward towards wherever it is that you're headed. Just keep going that direction. You're going to hit it.
During this conversation, that made me think of something that I feel like is probably pretty true, and you see what you think is how the importance of meeting new people, because each one of those people could potentially be an opportunity. Like I was hearing of this bass player who's very, very good, and he is playing in big touring acts. He's been on Conan, he's been on Jay Leno, he's been in all kinds of different shows, playing with different bands. And
What's his name?
I don't know his
Oh.
name. He's one of my drummer's friends, and my drummer asked him. He's like, "How did you do that? How did you go from a guy that he used to play with, jam with, to where he is now?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Really, all I did was just started going to shows and just meeting people, hanging out, being seen, getting people to know who I was, and that was it. He just met a lot of people."
Right.
And there's something else that I'm working on right now, where I have the opportunity to work with all kinds of different artists and meet them, and
Mhm.
I'm meeting a lot of new people too, and I am already seeing, you never know what opportunities they're going to introduce you with.
Right.
And I think maybe there's something to that. So something to not going just saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this all by myself."
Yeah.
The importance of finding other people well, they say that the old adage is that it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right.
So
Well, yeah, because there are people that can just open doors for you. I mean,
Mhm.
they're in the positions to just open doors, and it's a matter of, people.
or they might introduce you to somebody
right
who
to
can.
somebody else who can, and because they're just people. In
Yeah.
other words, they're just people. The people with fame, they're just people. So once if let's say you happen to get to know them, and you can be friends with them the same as you can with anybody that you meet on the street.
Yeah.
So whenever there's a friend there, you make a friend, they can say, "Hey, come on down," open up a door for you.
I mean, I guess you've talked about that privately. I guess it's that if you had a friend, and if I had a friend that I wanted to say, "Oh yeah, you want to play in a show with me? You want to get up on stage and sing
Yeah,
a song?"
right.
I could make that happen easily because you're my friend and I know you're good or whatever.
Right.
And it's the same thing, but it's all different levels of who the person is. Like, yeah, I could get you on stage at a bar,
Yeah.
but somebody else could get you on stage in front of 50,000 people if you know them and you're friends with them. you know?
Right. They can bring you up
Yeah.
whenever they want.
So it's like that's the power of having important friends, I guess.
Yeah.
And you never know who you're going to meet and who
Yeah.
they're going to introduce you to, and that's an ongoing cycle and chain.
Yeah, and you've probably heard this before. Yeah, they're not just going to come knocking on your door.
No.
People aren't just going to come out of nowhere just
Looking for you.
knock at the door looking for you. You got to get yourself out there. You got to
Mhm.
you have to have somebody that listens to you, somebody that believes in what you're doing and wants to either help you out or you might help them out. You
Yeah.
know? So there's always something, but you got to get out there and do it. That's
Yeah.
all. So
I think that's a pretty typical story. Yeah, and like you said, nobody's gonna go after you because how many musicians that we know? I know we talk about music a lot, but it's because we're both in that world. How many musicians you know that are amazing, but just nobody knows about them?
right, there's many.
You know,
I've known many myself.
and there's some people that they're just at home or something and they're playing to themselves and they can be the most amazing, but if nobody ever hears them, what's
Yeah.
it going to do for them?
I had heard one of the most amazing guitar players. I have a recording of him. One of the most amazing guitar players I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Nobody even knows who he is.
Yeah.
No one knows who he is. But before we finish up here, let's kind of go back and review,
Yeah, let's do
make
it.
the point of the old thought and the new thought. First of all, I'm saying the old thought, if you've got the point or if you joined us late, we talked about the old thought, is thinking that the body is life. Okay, and I don't have time to go back and explain it all, but the body is life. In other words, what we're saying is that letting the body or the physical world control the way you think, control your belief about yourself, which that's the old way of thinking. Okay, it's not your body or the physical world
your
that
outside
controls.
experiences.
Right, your outside experiences. What controls your life is your thoughts. Your thought world is what created all your past. Your thought world is what created everything up to this point where you are now. So if you continue on with the old thought, analyzing, dissecting, oh, this happens and I don't have money, and thinking that the old world, the physical world is life, is what controls life. No, your thoughts control life. So learn to control your thoughts right now. The mind is creative. Your mind is creative. It creates whatever you focus on. So the whole point is very simple. There is a law of mind, and the law of mind in action is focus on the good, all the good that you can come up with, and focus it all the time on something good, and just move in that direction, and you will begin to experience it. One day you will be living the life that you can dream of. The vision that you can have, one day you will be experiencing it, because the mind will create what it focuses on, and that is the new thought.
And that's all we have time for today. We would like to remind you to go to truthonlyshow.com, because you can find our previous episodes, and hopefully we would love it if you sent somebody else to truthonlyshow.com and told them to listen to an episode and see what they think. Just see what they think, see if they like it. That's all at truthonlyshow.com.
Okay, and one thing again that I like to give, every week I want to give you, is something that I believe is very important. That if you know anyone who suffers with any type of problems with their heart, whether they have a heartbeat, a fast heartbeat, look, I take it back, everybody needs a heartbeat. If they have a fast heartbeat, slow heartbeat, irregular heartbeat, or if they're experiencing any type of dizziness or anything similar to that, we highly, highly recommend the brilliant Dr. Duong. Okay, I'm going to give you his number. Oh, first of all, he's an electrophysiologist, not just cardiologist. He's an electrophysiologist, and his number is 877-773-8664. 877-773-8664. Highly recommend him. And I want to remind you, you're listening to the David Paul Band. That's one of their originals. I recommend you go to davidpaulmusic.com. Check out the calendar for a fantastic night of entertainment.
And if you live in Redlands, come out to Hangar 24 today, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. You can see my band, the Bell City Players. That's in Hangar 24 in Redlands.
And we'll both be there today, so if you want to come out and say hello to us, we'll be more than glad to.
You know where to find us.
To speak to. We'll be there at 2 o'clock today, Hangar 24 in Redlands.
1710 Sesame Drive, Redlands, California.
Right. We will be there today. We'll see you, and have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.